What's going on, guys? Welcome back to NolanTCG, and we are back here today for another deck profile, and this time it's for Prank Kids Adventurer. Definitely not Emancipator, like I said on the first cut of this. But yeah, with Adventurer or the Brave token package coming out, this is probably the second best deck you can run it at the moment. That is the first best deck being Phantom Knight. Overall, this is still the more consistent of the two decks. It just doesn't have such an unfair power ceiling like PK does. But yeah. Overall, the deck had tons of space in it previously, so you can just gut out like a bunch of cards and then put in the Adventurer package without feeling bad at all. You do slim down on the amount of like board breaking cards you can play, but overall, you can just extend out the deck to like a 45 card build if you do still want to include a lot of board breaking cards. But yeah, before we get started on the video, please remember to drop down below and hit that subscribe button if you are new here, because we are always happy to have new people to the channel. And let's get on into this deck profile. Before we do get started on this one though, it is brought to you of course by yourplaymat.com, who got us our beautiful NolanTCG extra deck sleeves. These are available on yourplaymat.com, as well as you can get custom sleeves and custom playmats, so whatever you need for the current format. There is an affiliate link in the description down below that does get you a little bit of a discount on your order. Also, enter the code NOLAN10YP for 10% off your order. Also kicks back a little bit to the channel, so everything will be very much appreciated. If you're shopping there, you're getting custom sleeves, custom playmats down. Make sure to enter our code at checkout. But let's get on into this deck profile. Okay, so starting us off, as always, we are playing Prank Kids, so we're playing lots of Prank Kids. So we start off with 3 of the Lampsies, getting that fresh burn damage and summoning from deck. 3 copies of the Fansies, get that dump and summon from deck. And 3 copies of Dropsies, gain that 1000 and summon from deck. All pretty standard. They are the best Prank Kids monsters, so we're playing 3 of each. Because now Desires has gone to 1, and ultimately we've taken it out of the deck because we've put in the Adventurer line. Anyway, I'm going to do that a lot in this video. We are now slimming down to 2 copies of Roxy's. I am not a fan of Roxy's, like, regardless, so I will normally try and slim down to 2 Roxy's whenever I can. You do play the Terraforming and the Field spell, which means you get more of the other names anyway, so there should rarely be situations in this deck where you don't have access to a name. And then after that, we are playing 3 copies of Parallel Exceed. Again, just a chain blocker to get you through your combos, but it can also set up Abyss Dweller, which is good against Eldritch, which is kind of gonna be good in the current format, so that's something you can definitely consider. If you can go like Eldritch and then Harpies them, if you can go Abyss Dweller and then Harpies them on their turn, they can't then reset their stuff, which then pretty much just means it's game next turn when you start, and that's a good time. It's a very, very good time. And then lastly, for our, our monster package that's related to the Prank Kids line, it's 1 copy of Nemesis Corridor. We just have it in the deck to recycle the Meow Meow Mew. If only we had Thunder Dragon Colossus, because then we could put a Colossus on our end board because we've activated Corridor, and that would be really, really good. Then that does bring us to our Adventurer line. So we do have 3 copies of Water Enchantress, pretty standard, just entire package revolves around this card, so you're playing it at 3. And then 1 copy of Wandering Griffin Rider coming in after that. This is your standard Omni Negation for the Engine. Engine is actually starting to get reasonably cheap in places, but expensive in others. I've found like the Water Enchantresses are going up in price, but stuff like Fateful Adventurer is like plummeted. So it is something to keep an eye on and see whether or not it is a package that you're interested in picking up for Prank Kids. And then lastly, we have our Hand Trap of choice. It is 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. If you do want to play more copies of Ash Blossom, not Ash Blossom, play 6 Ash Blossom actually, do that. If you want to play more copies of Hand Traps, you can cut the Parallel Exceed. There's not really a lot of cut space in the rest of the deck, but we'll talk to it as we get through it. Starting us off for our spell line, of course, we are playing more names to normal summon. It's 3 copies of Prank Kids Place, followed up with the 1 copy of Terraforming. Standard more names, so you play more names. Then we have slimmed down to 2 copies of Prank Kids Pandemonium. Just trying to generally find room in the deck to keep it under 40 cards, so I've put it down to 2 copies of Pandemonium, given that later on we are playing other fusion spells. The other Prank Kids spell that we are playing in the deck is, of course, 1 copy of Prank Kids Pranks. Gets you to recycle, can also generate you the token, which can then get you to other plays. After that, we do get into our Brave package, so we've got the 3 copies of Rites of Armor Seer, of course, just more of the engine. That is then, of course, followed up with the 1 copy of Fateful Adventure and 1 copy of Draco back to round out the entire package. It's all you need to play for your Adventurer package if you are picking it up, so don't bother buying the rest of it, because it's all pretty useless outside of those 9 cards. Then we do get to more of, I guess, our Prank Kids package. So we've got 2 copies of Polymerization, just for fusing from the hand to get your general extenders if you get hit with a hand trap. Always good. 1 copy of Thunder Dragon Fusion. We're going to be sending this off Verte Anaconda to generate a second Battle Butler. It'll shuffle everything back and then get us access to more resources on the follow-up turn. You can either get another normal summon or you can banish it to get the Nemesis Corridor. 1 copy of Instant Fusion, another card that helps you extend through hand traps and will typically help you get to a Totally Awesome on your end board. And then 1 copy of Called by the Grave to, of course, shut off other hand traps. This deck is very consistent in the way it resolves its combos, so as you can see, we've played as much consistency cards as possible to help ensure that every turn. And then lastly, the 40th card in the deck, it's 1 copy of Prank Kids Plan. Of course, with Eldritch being so good in the current format, I feel like it's a card that you absolutely must be playing. That then brings us to our extra deck, and I can't really remember where all of the space went in my extra deck. Actually, no, I think that's where my space came from. Cutting down to Meow Meow Mew, this is the first time I've really started playing the deck with the 1 Meow Meow Mew, so it made me take a good look at my extra deck. And then I realized that I just kind of was already playing everything I wanted to be playing, and then I just increased my packages, I guess, but we'll get to it. So we are now playing the 1 copy of Meow Meow Mew. Of course, it's at 1. We've got to play it at 1 now. We play the Corridor to recycle it back, so it doesn't feel too bad. Then we have 3 copies of Prank Kids Do Doodle Do. We have opted to bump this up to 3, just to give us as many basic link lines as possible. This does also add the Spell and Trap card, which is always good. You just want to typically have one of these to go into at all times, which is why we've increased the line to 3 now that we've lost 2 of those Meow Meow Mews. And of course, 1 copy of Bow Wow Bark follows that up. You have the off-turn ability to add back. Gives that protection as well, which is always good. Also, the attack buff comes up quite a lot. And then last of our links for the Prank Kids, we are playing the 1 Rip Roar and Rooster. I've said it multiple times in this deck profile, but Eldritch is going to be prevalent in the current format. So Rip Roar and Rooster is going to be very, very good for helping out that. Especially with skill drain being a thing. This deck doesn't really care about skill drain. Everything tributes for cost anyway. But Rip Roar and Rooster tributing for cost to rip apart an Eldritch board is going to be funny when you have to explain to them, no, I tribute for cost, so this doesn't work. Then we have the rest of our link line. We have the 1 copy of Verte Anaconda for sending that Thunder Dragon Fusion. 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn, just the transitional piece for the next link. It is the 1 copy of Access Code Talker. Typically going to be pushing for this for game with this and a Battle Butler. After that, we do go into our fusion packages. So we've got the 1 copy of Rocket Ride for summoning back off the instant fusion. 1 copy of Weather Washer for summoning back on the opponent's turn, and again, giving that added protection. And then 2 copies of Battle Butler. So typically we have 1 for the opening combo, and then we have 1 for the follow-up Thunder Dragon Fusion. That then does bring us to our Xyz lineup. So we do have the 1 copy of Abyss Dweller for summoning off our Parallel Xyz, and then the 1 copy of Totally Awesome for adding the negate onto our end board when we have access to the 2 copies of Dropsies. But that will wrap us up here for the deck profile for this one. So as always, if you do have any recommendations or things you would change, do make sure to comment them down below. What are you playing in your line? Are you playing 45 cards to bump out on those extra cards? Are you playing 40 cards to add as much consistency as possible? I think running the numbers, you're playing, what, 15 Prank Kids names that start the package, and then 6 names for, what's the Adventurer line? So, like, to not see either will be, like, very, very low chances. Yeah, it's gonna happen, isn't it? But as always, I've been Ben from NolanTCG, and have a good afternoon, everybody.